stuff.
I think Sonic 3D Blast was something special. Sega seemed to like working with Traveler's Tales since they decided to make another game with them, for this time exclusively for the Sega Saturn. In fact, this is the only really unique Sonic game on the Saturn, because there's only other two games released, 3D Blast, which is on the Genesis, and Sonic Jam, which is mostly just a collection of Genesis games. Though we'll get to that when we get to that, which is, I think, next time. So we'll see you then. But yeah, John Burton and his Traveler's Tales team were working on a racing game, and Sega's like, hey, make a Sonic racing game. And that's what they gave us, Sonic Racing, or Sonic R, if you will. Not much of the code for the original Formula 1 game they're working on still exists. You can see it on the channel of John Burton, who was the former head of Traveler's Tales, who showcases what it looked like. It's still kind of in the code of Sonic R. Basically, they're trying to make a racing game to compete with another racing game that was just really called Formula 1. Sega's like, we need a Sonic game, and Sonic Extreme kind of failed us right now, so, hey, can you make like this racing game a Sonic racing game for the Saturn? Thanks. Sonic R had some development problems, mostly due to the fact that they only had half a year to finish this game, which isn't enough time to do as much as they wanted to do, so a lot of things had to be scrapped in order to complete the game on time. There was some changes they were able to do in between the E3 release and the actual full game, mostly due to the water speed, which was increased in the final version. Thanks for that. But there's a lot of cool stuff they were going to do, but they didn't have enough time. Relay mode, if you don't know what that means like every time you swapped lap, you swapped character, which is pretty cool. As well as different, mirror mode, which you already know what that is, but those were ultimately scrapped because there was enough time. And it took too much coding time to even finish them, so that's a shame. A lot of the models had to be tweaked too. For example, Amy's car had a buzzsaw for some reason that they got scrapped for, I think, obvious reasons. Doesn't really make much sense for her car to have a buzzsaw. And why is Amy in a car? But we'll get to that when we talk about the game itself. But mostly this is they got rid of stuff like Tails' whiskers, I guess, and Knuckles' dreadlocks and shoes got changed a little bit. Nothing too drastic other than Amy's buzzsaw. There's also going to be a flame shield, but one of the reasons it was scrapped was because it's too similar to Lightning Shield, but also there really wasn't much use of the shield, so it didn't make much sense to keep it in. There's also a cool little story about the music. So Sega wanted, well, you probably know, vocal tracks, which is something that we don't really see in Sonic that often at this time point. We had 2 songs in Sonic City and 1 in Sonic 3D Blast Saturn version only. So, yeah, we didn't have a lot of songs. John Byrne didn't think this was a good idea, so he initially had the game set to have the vocals off. Then after a while, after hearing the songs, he's like, you know what? These songs are actually really good. So by default, the songs are set to on. Yes, you actually can change the lyrics on and off. Now, if you know the Sonic R songs, you'll be fucking insane to turn the vocals off, because these songs, as cheesy as they are really great. Every track has a person singing the songs, and yeah, we'll get to the songs when we get to the tracks, but they're amazing. Anyway, the music was composed by Richard Jacques, I believe I'm saying that right, who did the soundtrack for Sonic 3D Blast on the Saturn. His work is pretty great, and he's going to do a bunch of other Sonic games from here on out. And the soundtrack is pretty great, and of course, the person doing the vocal songs is named T.J. Davis, who, from my understanding, has only worked at this one Sonic game, though she says I'm going to work on more Sonic games, so whatever that means. Anyway, she has a very 90s sounding voice, but in a good way, if that makes any sense. This is the part where we look at box art. As you can see, this is a beta version, which actually has unique artwork. I'm going to showcase what this artwork looks like in just a little bit, but here's what this is the beta one, in case you couldn't tell. So here's what the beta art looks like on the title screen, since it's actually what's going to be used on the title screen. It's 2D art, and it actually looks better than what we actually got. I wish they stuck with this. I love the way it looks, but we got the crappy pre-rendered Sonic renders, which they use all the time during this era. Even Sonic Adventure, the first really true 3D Sonic game, didn't even use 3D renders. It used 2D artwork because it looks better. Come on, Sega, you should know this. Here's the pre-render artwork. It looks really cheesy and kind of goofy. I kind of like it, but at the same time, the 2D artwork looks way better. The Japanese version's the same, except it says Race for the Goal with Sonic and his pals. I didn't show the European artwork because it's exactly the same as the American one, except the Sega Saturn logo is black instead of white. There was a PC release, but as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. We'll go over the PC prices and stuff like that when we get to it, but here's what the unaltered box art looks like for Sonic R on PC. Here's the Japanese version of Sonic R on PC. I actually like this one quite a bit, actually, because it actually showcases the actual models in game, which have more charm, in my opinion, than the actual pre-rendered models. European box art, nothing too special here. And lastly, the Australia box art, which is the same as the Japanese one, but with more crap in front of it. Burger King actually had a promotion for Sonic R for the PC release in 1998, and the toys are very similar to the McDonald's ones for Sonic 3, so it's nothing Sonic R themed, unfortunately, but just the crate itself is Sonic R themed. I actually never seen these actual Burger King toys, oddly enough. I see the McDonald's ones all the time. I'll love to get my hands on this box, though, because it just looks so cool. And here's the cup it came with it. Oh, and these are the toys. You can see it's not even Sonic R themed. The top left doesn't even say Sonic R, it just says Sonic the Hedgehog. None of these are Sonic R related. In fact, they look like they're based on the old cartoons. At this point, the Adventure of Sonic the Hedgehog Eggman design is just so outdated at this rate. Now let's get to the game itself. Sonic R is a game that people have a lot of mixed feelings on. I'm coming at this from a different set of standards. I love Sonic R, actually, quite a bit. It's, not joking, probably the best Sonic racing game. Maybe people are like, oh, that's wrong, but the All-Stars Racing Transformers the best, or Sonic Riders is the best, but I like Sonic R the best. It's what I want out of a Sonic racing game, and there are some problems, but we'll get over that. So let's get into the main gist of what Sonic R offers the player. The player is greeted with Traveler's Tale logo, which is not the logo you'd see in the original Saturn version, that's the one on the GameCube. It's the easiest way to play this game, sorry. You press start, you hear Supersonic Racing, the main theme of Sonic R, which is a pretty good theme. Like I said, all themes were composed by Richard Jacques and sung by T.J. Davis. We've got a couple options, saving features, sound features, game features, all sorts of little cool, nifty stuff. Make sure to save your game, by the way. You might forget to do it because it's kind of hidden away. There's a lot of cool stuff in the menus option. You can test the sound stuff like usual in most of these games, and you can also change the vocals be on and off. And you can change stuff like difficulty, having ghosts, weather. There's weather in this game. You can change which one you want, if you want random or all-in, certain one all the time, and certain other things like map and two-player options. There's quite a good amount of options for an old game like this. When it comes to the main modes, you got multiplayer mode, which makes you play against a friend, time trials, which is basically just plays by yourself, attack. You have your time, and Grand Prix mode, which is the mode we'll be playing on. We have 4 characters to select: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, and we have 4 courses to select. There's one unlockable course and a couple unlockable characters, but yeah, not a whole lot. So yeah, for most of the time we'll be playing against the other characters, including Dr. Eggman, who's actually the last character you unlocked, despite the fact he's always there at the beginning. They put a giant X for his portrait, and we're into our first level, known as Resort Island. All the courses have nice overhead maps that you can view on the Gems collection, so I'm going to showcase all of them before we start the course. Here's what Resort Island looks like. It's pretty nice, actually. I'm pretty glad they actually have this. It gives you a nice layout what it looks like. When playing Sonic R, you'll basically realize it's a typical racing game. But this time, all the characters are on foot. Well, except for Amy and Eggman. They're in vehicles. But everyone else, they're on foot, which is pretty cool. We'll get to the characters soon. Let's talk about the gameplay. So like I said, you move forward, left and right turn yourself, and you got a jump button, which does certain unique abilities for Eggman and Amy and Egg Robo, which we'll get to. And you even got electricity shield, I would say thunder shield, whatever came to speak. That gets rings, which is pretty useful. And we have a bunch of little elements here. There's a lot of shortcuts and a lot of different paths and some collectibles. Like I said, the rings are mostly used for these gates that you can open, as well as launch pads that make you go really fast depending on how many rings you got. So overall, you want to keep collecting rings. They don't affect your maximum speed like coins do in Mario Kart. There's something to use for collectible purposes. And the cool thing about this game is that there are so many different shortcuts you can take. And if you're crafty enough, you can use them. And you gotta explore these levels. They're nicely well designed for the most part, as well as the fact there's a lot of different things. There's character tokens, which you need to collect to unlock characters, as well as gates that you can use to take shortcuts, as well as collect the Chaos Emeralds. But there's only 5 courses, and the last one is only unlockable when you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Each of the courses have enough Chaos Emeralds for you to get by. For example, in this gate, I found one of the blue Chaos Emeralds. In order to have the Chaos Emerald collected, though, you have to complete the race in first place, so keep that in mind when you go for all the shortcuts and stuff like that. Here's what the completed roster looks like when you beat the entire game. We've got quite a few characters to select compared to the courses, like Sonic, Super Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Eggman, Metal Sonic, Tails Doll, Metal Knuckles, and Egg Robo. Sonic feels like the fastest character, but that might just be my headcanon. I always think Sonic's the fastest character, even if he might not be the fastest. Sonic has a double jump ability, which is actually kind of useful for taking gaps. It's very nice, just a nice jump. It also helps with turning. There is no hard turn, which is the only problem with this game. You can turn, but during some areas you have to stay still and kind of move yourself slowly, which is the biggest problem with Sonic R. Once you get used to it, though, and play it for a while, I played it for so many times, I got so used to it. But it can be a little tricky, but that's kind of the whole point of Sonic R, is, even though I think that should have had a convert button to fix that problem, everything else is fine. Except Sonic's it feels like he's a little faster. as well as having a double jump ability. Tails is like not as fast as Sonic, it feels like. Like I said, I'm not too sure on that. And yeah, he has a flight, like of course he does. He's Tails. Basically, if you hold it, he can fly for a little bit, but after a while, he will drop down. It can be useful for doing tight turns, but most of the time, I don't think Tails is the best character. Even though some people might say, "Oh, yeah, Tails is the best character because he can fly." Not necessarily. His flight speed isn't as fast as Sonic's jumping. So overall, you're actually better with Sonic than Tails. But if you want another character that has some pretty good maneuverability, we'll get to our next character. That character is Knuckles. He actually feels a little faster than Tails, as well as the fact that he has his glide ability, which isn't that fast, but it gains momentum much like in Sonic 3. It's a lot faster than it did in Sonic 3, it feels like. And he can turn pretty nicely with those. And he can take quite a good distance of it. Unlike Tails, who runs out his flight after a while, Knuckles' glide will end when he touches the ground, much like he does in the game. So it's very useful. So Knuckles is actually probably the best character to start off if you're a newcomer to the game, because he's more user-friendly, if you will. If Knuckles is one of the best characters in the game, Amy is one of the worst characters. So for some reason, Amy's in a car, and one of the main things about this game is that you need to have a jump for some areas, basically meaning that you can't even use Amy to get some of the elements, so you couldn't even 100% beat the game in its entirety if you wanted to use Amy, which is not a good character design, let's just say that. Overall, her car feels slow, but it has a speed boost sometimes, and it can float on water, which is useful, I guess, but it doesn't have its buzzsaw, so overall, you're not taking shortcuts, and the main game is to use your jumps and stuff to take unique shortcuts throughout the level, which there's tons of. There's so much problems with Amy's controls that's insane. It feels wrong to be playing this character in this game because it's not designed for car play. Even the peers, when they use her, are always far behind. It's a shame, really. Sonic the Fire introduced Amy's Pico Pico Hammer, makes her a more unique character, while Sonic R just takes her back into a car, saying that she's not good enough to run on foot. I don't know, I think it's kind of lame. The first unlockable character is Metal Sonic. You need to collect all 5 character tokens in Resort Island to get him. And basically how you unlock a character is once you get all 5 tokens, you just gotta beat them in a race, which is pretty easy. Metal Sonic is very similar to Sonic, except he's not as slow. He has weird turns, and he only has one big jump rather than Sonic's double jump, so he's not as useful as Sonic. He's not bad, he's just not as good as other characters in the game. There's no really good reason to have him. He's okay. When beating Radical City, the next unlockable character is a brand new character known as Tails Doll. Tails Doll is one of the weirdest and most interesting Sonic characters. There's actually quite a few things to say about this guy, design ideas. There's only 2 new characters, and yeah, basically we have a male Sonic, we have Egg Robo. They're kind of robotic versions of 2 characters. So we have a male Tails and male Knuckles. Well, they did male Knuckles, but Tails doesn't get a male Tails. He gets Tails Doll, which is a really weird character. In fact, a lot of people were scared of this character, and a bunch of creepypastas came out about this character. And you know what? He's a little unnerving, but I kind of like how weird this character is. And the weirdest thing is this character wasn't even designed for Sonic R. It was designed for Sonic Adventure! In Sonic Adventure, which is being in development at the same time as Sonic R, the first level of E102 Gamma stage, there's actually a bunch of dolls here, including one of Tails. Of course, the last one you got to shoot is Sonic. This stage is so quick and fast, but someone decided that they're going to put the Tails one into the Sonic R instead of a metal version of Tails. Tails Doll's official creator is Yoshikita Mura. Like I said, I'm bad at pronunciation, so sorry if I got that. Like I said, it was originally originated in that guy also would later go on to be a background artist at Sonic Lost World, just so you guys know. So that Sonic Lost World creeps you out, it's because this thing exists. Tails Doll is such a weird, archaic-looking character that even in the comics, he basically uses a horror device. The stuff he does in the comics is insane, by the way, because this thing turns into a just terrifying monster at one point in the comics, which is kind of funny. But yeah, they do a really great job with this character. This character, unfortunately, doesn't reappear at all until Sonic Superstars. And like Metal Knuckles, which gets a full-on playable thing, Tails Doll is in the background of a one level that's missable. So poor Tails Doll.
Play with me. Play. Play.
Did this Sonic short scare anyone else? Because I know it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Yes, I was watching Sonic shorts as a child. Well, enough shitting our pants. How does Tails Doll play? Well, if you can see, Tails Doll is weirdly floating throughout the level, and he floats over basically all the water and stuff like that. He's not particularly fast, he has a weird momentum, and he has a weird floaty jump. He's just weird, floaty, weird character, but I kind of like the fact he's weird. And of course, you can't get for gates, but yeah. Describing how Tails play is just really hard. It makes you want to retire, that's all I can say. The next character unlocked in Real Ruin is Egg Robo from Sonic 3. Egg Robo isn't that great of a character because he can't jump, and like I said, not being able to jump sucks. Also, he has a jetpack, so I don't know how he can't jump. Overall, he's not bad movement-wise compared to Amy, and he floats over water, and his speed's not bad, but he can shoot with people with a gun ability that Eggman also has is not very useful or good at all, so it's kind of like, why waste your time? Just don't play as this character, basically what I'm trying to say. The next character unlocked in Reactive Factory is Metal Knuckles, who is a really cool looking character. Metal Knuckles doesn't have a lot going on for him. The most notable thing is he's the first character to be designed by Yuji Iwakawa, who would go on to do a lot of great things in the Sonic franchise, most notably his art style, and during the Sonic Adventure era, which basically he did all the redesigns. It became amazing. I love his art style. And Metal Knuckles is a really cool design. Unfortunately, Metal Knuckles only reappears in Sonic Superstars, which came out last year. So there's not a whole lot to say about Metal Knuckles. Design-wise, he's a metal version of Knuckles. He looks cool, but he wasn't ever reused until Sonic Superstars, which is a big bummer because his character looks really cool. Once you get all the Chaos Emeralds, not only do you like the last stage, we also unlock a new character, which is pretty cool. And that character is Super Sonic, who doesn't replace Sonic, actually, but you overlay Sonic, so you press down to collect Sonic. But Super Sonic is way better than Sonic. Super Sonic is way faster than any other character in the game, and his double jump is goes way farther and faster than Sonic does. So he's technically the best character in the game by a landslide. Though, luckily, you can choose another character still after getting Super Sonic and not have to worry too much. He's broken, but, he's not too broken. I don't remember whenever playing another character the CPU's choosing him or him being particularly good as his computers, so don't worry that much at all. But if you're playing two-player, someone chooses Super Sonic, then you might lose. Let's just say that. The last character is the one that's been there since the beginning is Eggman, because even though he's been, like I said, his part's been there since the beginning, he had a giant X over it. Had to beat the last level and unlock Eggman. Which isn't much of a reward since Eggman is not that great in the game. He's not fast, and his rockets are incredibly inefficient and don't do a whole lot at all. So overall, you're not winning a whole lot of races with Eggman here, even though he looks really goofy in his little Eggmobile here. One cool thing to note about Sonic R, before we get into the talking more about the courses themselves, after we're done talking about the characters now, is that each course has weather. The weather just mostly affects the aesthetics, which is pretty cool. However, stuff like snow here freezes the water over, meaning you characters can drive over or run over them, which is actually a pretty cool feature, meaning that winter levels have a lot more shortcuts than regular levels, which is pretty neat. So Resort Island is the first level, as I mentioned before, and it has quite a few little interesting things. It has a bunch of bridges over water at the beginning, a lot of different alternate paths. There's a shortcut for the forest. There's a lot of different ways to get the tokens, and I'm going to show you how to get the tokens like I said, I like to help you guys out when playing these games, and sometimes finding the tokens can be a little tricky. Now, getting the rings enough to get the gates isn't too much, but getting some of the tokens can be a little tricky. The first token's on this rock right here at the beginning of the level. You go up here, you go up to the left side, and on top of it, you'll find the Sonic token. First one. And the second one is pretty much right immediately on this cave next to the bridge here. I missed it there, so that kind of sucked, but you know where it is now, don't you? Coming to that bridge here, you want to go to this island back here, and on this second island, you'll find the next Sonic token. You want to go to this little hill in the center here and take the left path. It's slower, but you'll find another Sonic token there, which is very, very nice. After the little go thing there, you go to the left, you have 50 rings, you get your first Chaos Emerald. There's only one Chaos Emerald in Resort Island. Also, this Resort Island has a giant loop there, but it's best just to skip it all the time, because there's no reason to do it. It looks neat and all, but yeah, it takes up time. Also, you'll notice that in some of the backgrounds there, you see the Flickies from Sonic 3D Blast, which is actually a pretty cool little detail there, if I don't mind saying so. The next Sonic token's on the left side here, where these kind of ruins are. The gate here, 20 coin rings, and then you'll find the next Sonic token. The last thing I gotta say about this stage is the music. The song playing in this stage is Can You Feel the Sunshine, which is one of the most memed on Sonic songs because it's so cheesy, but it's good at the same time. Like I said, I don't want to play it because I don't want to get future copyright stricken, so there you go. Just look it up on YouTube, and you will listen to some greatness. The next course is Radical City. Here's a map, and you can kind of see it's a figure 8 with a lot of different little shortcuts and pathways in between that. Radical City is quite radical, with mountains in the background and a bunch of weird, twisty, turning street corners, as well as little areas that are under construction, as well as a pinball area reminiscent of the Sonic 3D Blast previous levels. It's quite an interesting course, and it is a little more tricky than Resort Island, but it's still fun. The song is "Living in the City," where you know you have to survive. Living in the city, you got to keep that dream alive. Yeah, the songs are incredibly catchy in this game. If you couldn't tell. There's a lot of different shortcuts. Mostly coins or tokens are pretty obvious, like the pinball section here. This is a pretty well designed level overall, even though some of the shortcuts can be a little tricky dicky if you don't know what you're doing. But I'm an expert at Sonic R, so I do know what I'm doing, so joke's on you, pal. Gaming tokens isn't as easy as it is in Resort Island, because you have to take multiple laps in order to get some of them, because you have to take certain pathways. The first one we're going to do is take the left path here, road, and go straight on ahead. Not on ahead, avoid the thing, and keep going on this road, and then you'll find the next token, which is right on this corner here. Isn't that lovely? After that, we're going to go on the right side here, and in the middle of the Sonic pinball table, we get their next token. Following that, we take this gate, which takes 20 rings, and you'll find the next token. It's also a nice little shortcut here. The left side does have the ring go area that does set you farther, but who the hell cares? Next, you want to go down here and slow yourself down, because you have to, it's in the little crevice there. A little out of the way, but it's not too hard. And then follow the road, you'll find your next token. When I mean find your next token, I mean do go around the whole course again, because you can't go back to this one. Go to the left path and go to this ramp here, and you'll find one on top of a building. And that's the last one in the course, and that's how you lock Tailstall. Now for the Chaos Emeralds. Go down to the road part here, to the main city part, and you'll find this 20 ring gate, and there's a Chaos Emerald. Unfortunately, it takes you back, which is not the best level design there. It's not the best shortcut, but hey, I can catch up because I'm faster than anyone else, because the computers aren't the best in this game. But at the same time, they can be a little tricky-dicky, so keep that out when you're doing this game. You want to keep on the main road for the next Chaos Emerald, not go to the right shortcut. Because here on the left side, you'll find 50 ring gate door, and it'll take you this off path. It's not a shortcut, by the way, it's longer. And you'll find the next Chaos Emerald there. You might miss it like me and turn around, but when you do collect it, you'll feel real good. Radical City is a pretty fun stage with unique set pieces. Most of the time you'll be on sky highways, basically. Sky highways, but there's a lot of different alternate paths to take. There's only 150 ring door, which is it's not useful for shortcuts. There's a little cool set piece like the beginning where you can do a giant glider fly by, depending on what character you use. Different paths. Each one is optimized shortcuts. There's weird little city underpass. There's pinball tables. It's quite a fun stage, and the music is top notch, like all the levels are. And there's actually quite a few bits of water, so the weather doesn't really change much in this stage. Overall, it's quite a fun stage, and I quite like racing on the stage quite a bit. Our next stage is Regal Ruin, which is a ruin that's regal. It is very boxy, if you can tell by the layout, and it is kind of annoying to find stuff. I will help you guys. And yeah, this course is probably the worst course in the game. Not that it's bad, but there's some elements to this course that kind of suck. Regal Ruins, whose song is "Take Me Back in Time to Another Place," which has a bunch of Knuckles Sphinxes all around here, which is pretty neat, is the hardest one to get all the tokens and also get in first place. Remember, you can't just collect all the 5 tokens. You have to also get in first place in order to race the characters, especially as well as the Chaos Emeralds. And doing all that sucks, because this one is this area right here where you do tight turns, which the game is not designed for. Most of the courses don't have tight turns like that you have to worry about, but this course seems to have that exact problem. But I'm going to tell you where all of them are. You basically got to use an optimized route and just keep practicing it. This game is fun enough that it doesn't matter. Trial and error. The courses are short, so you'll want to replay them over and over again anyway. That's the replay value. Alright, you guys? The first emblem's pretty easy. On the right side of the main part, you find the token right there, right on top of the hill. But don't go up the ramp and go up here to the second to the right spring, which gives you another token. And then you want to go down this annoying staircase to get to the next 2 ones, which is not the best design. I hate that. Then you go to the left here is a little crevice here, and on the main path here you'll find another token. Make sure you're collecting rings, because when you go back to the main area, you want to stay on the left side, get one over the bridge, and you'll also find the next one alongside the pathway. The next one, you gotta go back down that stupid staircase. After going down the really slow staircase, you want to go to the right this time, and you'll find the token on the main path here. It's pretty easy to miss. Hard to miss, on the hell I'm talking about. Yeah, not very hard to miss, so I have no idea why I said that. But either way, once you did that, you should be fine. If you did this pathway, I recommend not getting the Chaos Emeralds with the emblems, even though it's cool to get them both at the same time, because it is just tricky to do both of them at the same time. So don't recommend it, even though it looks like I'm doing that right now. One of the Chaos Emeralds is on this left side at the beginning of the course, which you need to get 50 rings, so you have to go up to the second or third lap. And it slows down, and you have to turn around and you'll find this extra path. They have to do precise jumps to get over here. It's not even a shortcut, really. Uh, so it takes you to the main part anyway. But overall, yeah, not the best thing ever. Then you want to open this 20 ring gate, and you'll find this area here. This area here, you gotta stop, go to the left, collect the Chaos Emerald, and then turn your ass around and go to this new path here, which has an additional loop, which makes you go through it like multiple times. Kind of annoying. However, it's faster than turning down that path because it gives you a nice little shortcut there. So once you do that, it's definitely better than doing it this way than going the other path and going through random, weird, slinky hallways. Overall, Regal Ruin is not the best design track. Once you get the layout done, it's not too bad, but collecting all of them could be a little annoying. And if you had an actual nice turn for this area right here, it wouldn't have been so bad, but they decided to design it this way. Not the best design, I gotta say that. Traveler's Tales, you can do better, alright? The next zone is known as, course, is Reactive Factory. A factory that's reactive. This one is a little, hard to memorize at first, but once you do it multiple times, you will see that, hey, I can recognize this area. Yeah, it's not as memorable as the other ones, but there is some unique stuff in it. So let's take a look at the course, shall we? Reactive Factory is kind of like is similar to Oil Ocean in my opinion. It kind of feels like an Eggman factory on the water, but not like oily. But you know, there's a lot of factory stuff going on here, but at the same time, it's kind of like a racetrack in a way. It's similar to some Sonic zones at the same time. Not really. I know it looks like it's oil there, but it's actually just it's water. Just nighttime right now in the course. There's submarines to the side, which is both of the submarines in the course give you something. Like one gives you a Sonic token, and one gives you a Chaos Emerald. There's the alternate pathways, which can be a little confusing to take. You got to figure out which one you want to take. That's kind of the whole point of Sonic R, is figuring out what pathway is fastest and seeing if you can beat your players by taking faster pathways. It's pretty neat. This one also has a loop like the other courses, but this one is kind of mandatory. It's kind of unmandatory, but at the same time it's not. There's a little secret hidden stuff, like always. A weird gate that just unlocks the submarine to shoot a Chaos Emerald at you. So there's one of the Chaos Emeralds, which I missed because, you know, it went slower than I was. Shame. That's Reactive Factory. And the song that plays is probably the lamest song. Work It Out. It's not the most catchy of all the tunes. It's not bad, because none of the songs are bad, but other than the credit theme, I guess, this is the least memorable one. Overall, not the most memorable track in the game. The emblems aren't as hard to collect as it was in the previous stage. So the first one you'll see immediately is on the submarine. So you take a little left turn and then go on top of it. You'll find it right there. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself. Anyway, next time you want to turn to the left here, and you'll find our next emblem along this path, which is also kind of a shortcut if I do say so. I don't know why I keep saying that, but that's just one of the things I feel. You want to go right on this side, and then you find the next emblem here. During the regular race, you don't want to go this area because it's not as fast, and it also kind of turns you around a little bit. So I recommend going to the left if you want to win the race. But hey, go down back there, and you'll find the third coin token right there in the middle of the road. So pretty hard to miss that. Instead of going to the submarine on the left we did the first time, we want to go to the right, and we'll find the emblem right there. And this is actually where we'll find our next Chaos Emerald too, which is right in between this area, which is pretty neat. I don't know why I said next Chaos Emerald, because I don't think that's the area. I don't know why I just lied right there. For some reason in my head I thought that was where it was. I have no idea why I thought that. Last token is near the end of the course, the top of this area. We have to unlock it with 20 rings. You have to turn your ass around too in order to get out of here, because there's no way out. And once you do that, you'll be right at the end of the finish line, so it's not too shabby. Just make sure you catch up using shortcuts. The best way to do that is at the beginning of here, you go to the right, but I went to the left. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, you do that, and you'll find some shortcut areas as well. Like, for example, if you go right during that jump, you can take a nice quick cut that avoids this little loop here, which is very convenient, to say the least. So you can just jump over this area entirely right there, if you can see. Getting Chaos Emeralds are a little more tricky in the Reactive Factory than it is in the other courses, where most of the time the character tokens are a little more difficult there. Here, the Chaos Emeralds are actually more difficult to collect. For example, for this one, you actually have to slow down. You have to get 50 rings, slow down, wait for the submarine to shoot out the Chaos Emerald, and then you can collect it. Kind of annoying, I know. The next Chaos Emerald, on this ramp here, you want to go to the right, and you will find this gate that's kind of hidden right between here. You need 50 rings in order to do this, and you also will need to slow down, because this reactor thing is going to shoot out a Chaos Emerald right in front of you. And that's the last Chaos Emerald that you need in order to unlock the last level and Supersonic. So there you go. Like I said, it doesn't seem that difficult, but that ramp jump is a little tricky. Plus, you need 50 rings in order to get there. The next course is Raid Emerald, which is a pretty cool course. One thing that's different between the later releases, the PC and the GameCube version, is that the course is not transparent, unlike the Saturn version, which kind of sucks. But overall, I couldn't get the Saturn version to run at stables, so there's not that many differences other than that from what I found. So you're not really missing a whole lot. Though it would have been cool to actually play it on emulation on the Saturn, but the Saturn emulator is just terrible. So I just did the GameCube version. Radiant Emerald has a pretty cool song. Diamond in the Sky, which is probably my favorite in the whole game. Though, if you're playing Supersonic, which I'm doing right here, I'll play Supersonic Racing, which is a good song, but I like Diamond in the Sky. I played Diamond in the Sky. I hear Supersonic Racing all the time in Sonic. It doesn't matter. Radiant Emerald is obviously inspired by Rainbow Road from Mario Kart, which makes sense. Sonic R has similarities to Mario Kart, not entirely. This course has basic path. There's no weather too here. And it looks just very nice, and the music is just calming. This is a fun course to play on. It's pretty basic. All the shortcuts are gate-based, and there's quite a lot of rings, but there's a lot of rings on the course, so it doesn't really matter. They are pretty broken shortcuts, but the other computers can take them. Keep that in mind. Overall, Radiant Emerald is a good course, but no whole lot to say about it since there is no unlockable things here. Just beat the course, and you'll get the one unlockable character, which is Eggman, but no collectibles or anything like that. Overall, Sonic R is a pretty fun game, and I like the courses and everything else it has to offer. I realize that this is the last course, meaning that this is the last thing I got to say about Sonic R. Overall, while some people might not like it, the music might be a little cheesy, the turning is not the best, and it has a lack of courses. Not so much characters, though. It is weird that Fang is not in this game, since you'll see him appear in most of the other Sonic spin-off games. But again, they wanted to have a theme. Well, they had the main Sonic characters, and they have robotic versions of them. Minus Amy, she doesn't get a robotic version because I don't know why. They didn't seem to like Amy until Sonic Adventure. And overall, I think Sonic R is quite a unique gem on the Sega Saturn. That's why it's such a gem that it was put on the Sonic Gems collection. I actually recommend getting Sonic Gems collection just to play Sonic R. It is quite a fun game. Trying to beat it, and it's not too hard to beat the whole game by unlocking everything. It's fun. It's pretty replayable. Short but replayable, and that's all you really want from a Sonic game, or a game in general. Pikmin 1's short, but it's very replayable, so what's wrong with Sonic R? That's what I gotta say. Well, here's what the victory screen looks like if you complete a lap in first place. It has your character celebrating and the little chorus, little emblem there. Pretty neat. After getting everything in the game, you get this nice screenshot of all the emeralds and all the 5 default characters saying, yeah, thank you for playing. And there's Supersonic saying, thank you for playing. Each character gets their own little thing there. That's Supersonics. They're not the most interesting thing in the world. And we get the credits, which has the song You're My Number One, which is a really cheesy song, and it's not that great, but hey, it's fine. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Sonic R by Traveler's Tales. They would not work on a Sonic project for another 15 years, maybe 20 years. That being the LEGO Dimensions Sonic Pack, so we won't be saying Traveler's Tales for a while, but thank you for making Sonic R. Wasn't a big fan of Sonic 3D Blast, but Sonic R is a game that I've had a lot of fun with. I liked ever since I played it as a child on Sonic Gems Collection. I don't know why, I just really liked playing Sonic R. And here's what all the ending profiles look like if you beat the character of every game, including the end picture that appears after beating the game. I didn't showcase that in my gameplay footage, but obviously I beat the whole game, so 100% the game, pretty fun, highly recommend doing so. Sonic R is a bit of a legacy. While some people aren't a big fan of it, it has more of a cult following nowadays. I think a lot more people like it now than they did before. I'm showing the Team Sonic Racing because the R in Sonic Racing is the same R from Sonic R for some reason. It really has nothing to do with Sonic R, but hey, it's pretty neat. Some of the songs have been reused. Most of the Super Sonic Racings have been reused in multiple different Sonic games. And the game has a pretty unique legacy, especially between its weird Tails doll and unique music. Sonic R may have not been the thing that would save the Sega Saturn, but it definitely is a unique Sonic experience that you can only find on the Sega Saturn. Well, the PC and GameCube. Much like most Saturn games, Sonic R is kind of expensive, as you can probably see. This is one of my most wanted Saturn games, even though I played it on GameCube all the time, so I really don't need it. But it'd be cool to actually play it on the actual original hardware. Like I said, 95 loose is not cheap. And complete, you're looking at an additional $100 there, let alone another additional $100 to a new price. Jeez Louise. I did see this at the game store once, and I was so tempted to buy it, but I was like, oh, I can't afford that. I cannot afford it. I would love to own this game though on the Sega Saturn one of these days. I have a Sega Saturn. I don't even play because I have like no games on it. Can't find games for it. It sucks. There were a couple PC releases that came a year later. This is the one. This is the main one I chose because it has a loose and complete price, meaning there's more recorded versions of it. Overall, it's not too rare loose. It's cheaper than the Saturn version, that's for sure. Though it does run in older Windows, so it's not going to work on modern day PCs. Though if you did what I do and use a virtual machine, you can put the disc in, and it will still work on it if you have a virtual machine. Love it. I love doing that. But anyway, yeah, you can find it on PC. Like I said, you don't see PC games being sold that often, even if it is more common. So you won't find these at game stores because a lot of game stores just don't carry PC games. It's a shame because there's a lot of good PC games. Whatever. There was a couple of re-releases of Sonic R in Europe. As you can see, this is a re-release from the 2000. You'll be able to find this, it seems easier in Europe, and I can't find all prices on these compilations, so I'm just going to showcase what some of them look like. So here's the arcade collection featuring Sonic 3D Blast as well as Sonic R. Here's a look at the same thing, but minus that racing game, Sega Rally, for the PC. It came out the same time for America. It has a nice Y2K check mark on it for some reason. But this is the Sonic Speed Pack for the PC, featuring Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic R. Like I said, this won't work on modern day Windows. Another release in 2000 was a Sonic Action Pack, which, if you can tell by the box, it just has cutouts for the actual jewel cases for 3 of the Sonic games. Not a bad value, though I'm pretty sure this is rare, because like I said, it's not on price charting. Sonic R, Sonic and Knuckles Collection, and Sonic CD. It's just 3 great games, and there's not a lie, it is 3 great games, though pretty bad packaging if I do say so myself. This was released in 2000, by the way. A year later, we got Sonic Action 4-Pack, which is the same thing, except it adds a Sega Smash Pack 2, which is the only thing I actually own here of all the PC games. I need to own these old Sonic PC games, that's what I'm realizing right now. This is the last PC release. Yeah, there's a whole lot. This was released in 2008, believe it or not, which is pretty late, especially for these 2 games, which were made for really early versions of Windows at this point. They were made for like Windows 95 and 98, and they're being re-released in 2008. Probably not changed at all. So who knows? That I'm not sure. Even if it's later, I still don't think it would work on modern day computers. Plus, it's a PAL version, so I have no idea. Anyway, there's, like I said, barely information on this thing. So if you have one, let me know. It looks pretty neat. But still, that Sonic from Sonic 3D Lucky's Island looks horrifying. The last release was on Sonic Gems Collection. As I mentioned before, Sonic Gems Collection is mostly worth it for Sonic the Fighters and Sonic R, since there's no way else to play them. You know, Sonic R has quite a unique legacy, and it had a bunch of PC releases. It's never been re-released since then, which is a shame, since I think it's quite a good game. So Gems Collection, other than emulating it, your best bet is on the Gems Collection. I have no idea if there's any legal problems because of the fact that it was made by Traveler's Tales, though I don't think they have a problem with them, especially since like I said, even though I don't think he works at Traveler's Tales anymore, John Byrne, who worked on both games, actually made like a fan version of 3D Blast, so I don't think he has a problem with that. So who the hell knows? Either way, I think they need to re-release Sonic R because it is quite a good game. Released in the beginning of the 1998, we've got Sonic R, the soundtrack, which has a unique thing on it. It says, reach for your new dimension, ready for new excitement. Roads lead you to a new world. Rivals are here, race it for the victory. R is it. Sonic R. The reason I mention this, there's been other soundtracks, but this one is unique because you can see from here, that Sonic looks a little different. Yeah, this is actually, I think, one of the first appearances of the modern Sonic design, since this is January 1998 and Sonic Adventure came out December 1998. So I thought that was pretty cool, especially since it looks nothing like that in game, but it's pretty cool to see. The final ranking for Sonic R is an S tier. Yeah, I know, S tier. I bet you didn't expect that, but that's how I feel. I think the game is infinitely fun and replayable. The little problem with returning is not a big deal to me. Like I said, even if I don't get everything on the course, it's just fun to replay it over and over again and try to get the best time possible. It's just very well executed in the gameplay, and that's all that really matters a lot of times. Sometimes the game doesn't need that much content. Well, I wish it did have more content, but I really wish they made another Sonic racing game like Sonic R, at least in my opinion. I didn't notice that, going back, I didn't cover some things in this review. I feel like I covered a lot of crap. I didn't mention the story, and the reason why is that the story sucks. There's like barely any story. There's a Grand Prix randomly. Eggman wants to collect the Chaos Emeralds. He says that somehow he's going to collect them by making everyone else compete. yeah, Eggman, your playing kind of sucks. It doesn't really matter anyway because it doesn't even really talk about his robotic creations either at all. Maybe it makes a little hint, so it's not even really interesting when it comes to that. So overall, the story kind of sucks. It's like a paragraph long. So what do you expect? There's also a couple of different differences between the Saturn and the version I played. Mostly because I couldn't get the Saturn version to run, I wasn't able to really showcase a lot of these, which is unfortunate. Though it's mostly they've added the weather changes more is more evident in the PC slash GameCube release. The actual snow makes the water freeze over, as well as the characters maneuver a bit better. A lot of the stuff that looks a little better are in the transparency, Radiant Emerald. Pretty much most of the stuff is the same, so it's not a big difference in change. So it doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, I had to mention those in case someone mentions them in the comics. Comics? When I say comics, I say comments. Overall, like I said, Sonic R is pretty good, and I'm not regretting it putting an S tier. I would put an R tier if I had an R tier because Sonic R. We're getting close to the end of the classic era, and the dark, especially the dark classic era. We have one more game to, actually two more games to cover. I don't know what I'm talking about before we actually jump all the way into Sonic Adventure, which I'm super excited for. So I'll see you then.